So if you're interested in doing the Internet Explorer 9, I'm going to show you a couple of things you can do. One is this website called IE Test Drive. And if you go out to IE Test Drive, actually I'm just going to go ahead and open up the browser. I've already got it up and running. We'll click on the link. So you think about PowerPoint, you can click on the links and it'll go ahead and open it up for us. This is a website that is coded and shows examples of how you can do different things inside of IE9. One of the things I'd like to show is a benchmark where we show how you can leverage the graphics capabilities of the browser. Now this is built just in the HTML. It's got images, it's got scaling, it's got some rendering. You can turn on video on the backside to be able to go out and get information about different people. So this is a radio station in Seattle. This is all of their DJs, and you can see the music that they have gone ahead and played. So it's like if I go out and I pull up Jack Walters, as I hover over different elements, you'll find that I get a loading icon until it actually does get loaded. And then if they have a photo, then I can go out and I can click on that, and I can open up and see what kinds of music they've been playing lately. So this is pulling data in. You can pull up a song. You can say, okay, well, how often does that get paid, played, etc. But you can see up here on the top that I've got 15 frames per second going. And it gives me an idea as to what kind of performance I've got on running this. There's also a benchmark. You can run this, and it'll go through doing different kinds of iterations on the actual tiles. And so this now is going to go through and do a bunch of tests to see how fast your application is running. So when you're running the benchmark, you'll see it's going to do rotations, it's going to be doing scaling, sizing, pulling stuff in, playing multimedia at the same time. But what it's doing is in the browser inside of IE9, it's taking advantage of the graphical processor of my laptop instead of just relying on the software to do that rendering for me. So this is kind of a neat way to go through. You can see how it's doing the different types of effects and you're render out and you get that benchmark. You can go out and run this by going out to webvizbench.com. That'll take you right out there where you can play around with it. Another one that's worth looking at, if you've got the IE9 test drive, is you've got just a number of different simple scenarios. One of them is, you guys like speed reading? This is kind of a fun one. This is going to go out and show us give you an idea as to the rendering speed, how fast can the browser go out and render text and be able to work with it. And this is all built inside of JavaScript, all of the graphics, all of the gradients and all the rest of that. But it'll go through and let's see how well you guys can do at reading this. Did you get that? So. But you can have some fun with these different examples. And if you want to see the source of this, you can go out under here, click on the developer tools, be able to open up and see the actual rendering of what that looks like. Click on your scripts, and you can see here's the scripts that are running. You can get the billboard, you can actually get to those things so you can actually see what they actually say. I had to do that. But I can also, while I'm out here and running, if this site isn't compatible or compliant, I can change my browser mode to be back on IE8. Now this was really useful for me because, look at that, how slow it's going. If you have a site that isn't rendering correctly or it's not there, something's not compliant or you're trying to get back to an earlier version, you can simulate and it will run the previous rendering engine on that site. Let's go back to IE9 and then close that out. So, this is just kind of some of the fun ones that are out here. Another one I did with my daughter was we did a psychedelic browser. This stuff goes through and figures out different rendering of graphics, so you can see how the gradients can be turned on and played with. And again, something fun to do with a 5-year-old. What color is that? Other ones that are kind of neat, Flickr postcards. Playing around with some of the graphics. Flickr has pictures that you can upload, and so what it does is it'll go out and find different photos and then render them back to us. We can turn on the messy layout, show tags. We go out and say search for PDC 10, and then search. This will go out and then pull back and then using the rendering capabilities of this, be able to pull up different pictures and then draw them on our center screen for us. And again. So, lots of pictures out there. So, there we go. And you can see here's the different rendering of the pictures. You've got the different photos. It's basically going out. It's using an OData endpoint as a data source that we'll talk about later to pull in the list of information about those pictures from Flickr, and then it's rendering that out. So it's just kind of another one that's sort of fun to play with. A canvas pinball, if you like playing pinball. This is renders out, and you've got the ability to go out and using your. I just think that's kind of neat. So if you want to do HTML as your gaming language, isn't that kind of cool? Ooh. But there's also different kinds of games, different fonts. One that's kind of actually useful is this thing called site pinning. We want to make the experience of using the browser more like using a regular application. And so with site pinning, what this does is it allows us to, or allows the developer to add meta tags to a web page and then be able to tie that meta tags into the jump list that Windows 7 provides out of the box. So I can go and I can add like common behaviors to a site. So for instance, if I'm out here and I'm on Bing.com, and if I typed in Bing.com right, I don't type it in right, but Bing is optimized for how this works. And so, let's go here. So what I can do is I can take the tab and I can drag it down to the bottom and I can pin it to the taskbar. Now what IE9 does is it takes the colors of Bing, the orange colors, and it knows to tie in information about that. What's interesting is that if I right click on here, I get common tasks like going out to get weather or maps or travel. But I can customize on my website common pages that people might want to go to. So for instance, if I've got Channel 9, which I went over here and I created Channel 9, Channel 9's got podcasts, IE podcasts, and other ways that you can go out and take advantage of the content that's on an IE9, or in that spot. If you want to get rid of it, of course you take this and you say, here, unpin it, and it's gone. But you have that opportunity to go out and play around with it, and you can then customize what the look and the feel of that is. Would you be interested to know how to do that?